Is it possible for you to understand magnetism? Well, let's see if it's possible. Even if you haven't yet covered this topic, or you have covered the topic but you did not understand, it is normal. Okay, it is not, the problem is not the teacher or you, but it is just nature. You cannot understand everything on one particular day. But let's try this attempt today. So, this question, I got it from the 2022 internal candidates, science paper 1. They found this one as one of the questions. Section B, question 6. So figure 6.1 shows magnetic field lines between the poles of two magnets. Now, a magnet has got two poles, a north pole and a south pole. Now, let me just emphasize on the magnetic field lines. The properties of the magnetic field lines are that one, they originate from the north pole to the south pole. Second, they don't cross. Third, they obey the law of electricity, which tells us like poles repel and like poles attract. Then, when two magnets with the same poles come close to each other, come into contact, there should be a force of repulsion. So let's check on how we can answer these two questions. Since this one is a permanent magnet and that one is a permanent magnet, remember I said any magnet should have the north pole and the south pole. But we have been given these two permanent magnets with the magnetic field lines going outward. Remember, I said the magnetic field lines, all magnetic field lines originate from the north pole to the south pole. So in our case, since they originate from the north pole to the south pole, then we are told, or we are being given these arrows going outward. We should be able to know the polarity which is represented by Q and that which is represented by P. The first question is name region R. Now, the region R, we consider this one to be a neutral point. Region R is our neutral point. Okay. Second, if P is a south pole, what are the poles of Q and T? Q and T. If P is a south pole, yes, it has to be a south pole. Even if they did not indicate this tip, still we were supposed to identify the polarity of the two permanent magnets. And we can only come up with the correct answer if we know the characteristics of the magnetic field lines, which we are taught to say they originate from the north pole to the south pole. So since we are saying they originate from the north pole and they are going outward, so meaning this one becomes our north pole and that one should be our south pole. Why are we considering this one to be the south pole? Because a permanent magnet should have one north pole and one south pole. Same to what we have on the other side. Because there's a force of repulsion, that's the reason why we have a neutral point. Therefore, this one also becomes the north pole and that one has to be the south pole. So, what will be the polarity, or what are the poles Q and T? So the poles P and Q and T should be the north pole and the south pole. Now, this question is just a repetition of what we saw in 2018 GCE. Go and check. You see what is happening there. They will ask questions, for instance, why is soft iron used instead of steel? Keep in mind, when you come across those kind of questions, just respond by saying, because iron is easy to magnetize and easy to demagnetize, while steel is not easy to magnetize and not easy to demagnetize. Thank you.